What's up, thinkers? Welcome to the channel. Today, we're diving into something uncomfortable, the conflict between your potential and your comfort. Using the philosophy of Arthur Schopenhauer, we're going to explore why that fire you once had might have disappeared and what your relationship has to do with it. If you're ready to challenge how you see your life, hit that subscribe button and let's begin.
Close your eyes for a moment. I want you to remember something. Someone, actually. The man you were before her. Not last year, not even 2 years ago. Go back further if you need to. Go back to the moment before everything changed. Do you remember him? That version of you who stayed up until 3 in the morning, not because he was binge-watching a series, but because he was building something, creating something, chasing something that felt bigger than himself. The guy who had a vision so clear, so sharp, that it kept him awake at night, not with anxiety, but with electricity. You remember that fire, don't you? It wasn't just ambition, it was deeper than that. It was purpose. It was the feeling that you were meant for something more, that there was a path laid out in front of you, and all you had to do was walk it, no matter how steep, no matter how lonely. You had goals that weren't just written down, they were burned into you. You sacrificed. You said no to distractions. You worked when others partied. You built when others relaxed. You were hungry. And it wasn't suffering. It felt right. It felt like you were becoming the man you were always supposed to be. That was you. The man you intended to be. And then she arrived. And listen, I need you to understand something right now before we go any further. This isn't about demonizing anyone. This isn't about blaming women or relationships or love itself. This is about something much darker, something more primal. But we'll get there. First, let's just acknowledge what happened. She arrived, and she was incredible, wasn't she? Warm, beautiful, safe. She made you feel things you hadn't felt in years, maybe ever. She made the cold, brutal journey you were on feel a little less lonely. And that felt good. For the first time in a long time, you weren't just surviving. You were living. You were laughing. You were feeling connection. You were experiencing something that all those late nights and lonely sacrifices couldn't give you. You told yourself, I can have both. I can have her and the mission. I can balance this. And maybe for a while you did. But then something started to shift. It was subtle at first. So subtle you didn't even notice it. The late night work sessions became less frequent. Not because you decided to stop, just because, well, she wanted to spend time with you. And that seemed reasonable. Healthy, even. Come to bed, she'd say. You've been working all day. You need rest. And she was right, wasn't she? You did need rest. So you closed the laptop. The gym sessions you never missed, they started getting skipped. Just once in a while. Let's sleep in today, she'd whisper. We deserve a lazy morning. And you did deserve it. You'd been grinding for years. What's one morning? The friends you used to strategize with, the ones who challenged you, pushed you, held you accountable, you started seeing them less. Not because you didn't value them, just because, well, weekends were for her now. And that seemed like the right priority. That's what a good partner does, right? The projects that used to consume you, the business idea, the creative work, the self-improvement protocols, they didn't disappear, they just got delayed. I'll get back to it next week, once things settle down. After this vacation, after the holidays, after we move in together. And here's the thing, none of these individual choices felt wrong. Each one in isolation seemed perfectly reasonable, loving even. But you know what they say about boiling a frog, don't you? If you throw a frog into boiling water, it jumps out immediately. But if you put it in cool water and slowly turn up the heat, it never notices. It just cooks. Fast forward to today. Right now. You're comfortable. You're safe. You have someone who loves you. You have routines. You have stability. You have a life. But if you're being honest with yourself, and I mean really honest, the kind of honesty that hurts, there's something missing, isn't there? That fire. It's not burning anymore. Maybe it's not even smoldering. Maybe it's just ash. You look at yourself in the mirror and you see someone you don't quite recognize. He's not bad. He's just different, softer, safer, smaller. The man you intended to be, the one with the vision, the mission, the unshakable drive. Where did he go? You traded late nights building your future for late nights on the couch watching Netflix. You traded the gym for lazy Sunday mornings. You traded ambition for stability. You traded becoming for being. And the strangest part, you can't even pinpoint when it happened. There was no single moment, no dramatic betrayal, no catastrophic event. It was just 1,000 small moments, 1,000 tiny compromises, 1,000 next weeks that never came. So here's the question that's probably already echoing in your head. Did she destroy your potential? It's a brutal question, an uncomfortable question. And before you rush to defend her, before you say, "No, it was my choice," or "She never forced me to do anything," I want you to sit with that question for a moment. Because here's what I'm going to tell you, and it's going to sound insane at first. According to one of history's most brilliant and brutal philosophers, the answer is yes, but not in the way you think. In the 19th century, a German philosopher named Arthur Schopenhauer looked at the human condition, at love, relationships, ambition, and the tragedy of unfulfilled potential, and he saw something that most people miss. He saw that there's a war happening inside every person. Not a war between good and evil, not a war between logic and emotion, a war between who you could be and who the universe needs you to be. And in this war, romantic love, the thing we're told is the highest human experience, the thing songs and movies and novels celebrate as our salvation, is actually a weapon. A beautiful, intoxicating, perfectly designed weapon. And your girlfriend? She's not wielding it. She is it. But again, not in the way you think. Schopenhauer's philosophy reveals something terrifying. The loss of your potential, the death of your ambition, the transformation from the man you intended to be into the man you've become, wasn't an accident. It was the plan all along. Now, before you click away thinking this is some bitter, misogynistic rant, stay with me. Because what Schopenhauer discovered wasn't about women. It wasn't even really about relationships. It was about a force, a cosmic, biological, unstoppable force that's been manipulating human beings since the beginning of time. A force that doesn't care about your dreams, your potential, or your happiness. A force that has one goal and one goal only. And to understand what happened to you, to understand why that fire died, you first need to understand this force. Schopenhauer called it the will. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So let's talk about the will. But first, I need you to forget everything you think you know about philosophy. This isn't going to be abstract. This isn't going to be some intellectual exercise you file away and forget about. What Schopenhauer discovered, what he spent his entire life trying to warn us about, is the most practical, applicable, and terrifying insight into human nature you'll ever encounter. Because the will isn't just a concept, it's in you, right now, operating behind the scenes of every decision you make, every desire you feel, every relationship you enter. And the reason you lost that fire, the reason the man you intended to be disappeared, the will wanted it that way. Here's what Schopenhauer saw. When you look at reality, really look at it, you notice something strange. Everything, and I mean everything, is in a state of constant striving. The tree strives towards sunlight. The river strives towards the ocean. The wolf strives for prey. Your heart strives to beat. Your lungs strive to breathe. Nothing is at rest. Nothing is satisfied. Everything is reaching for something. Most philosophers before Schopenhauer tried to explain this with reason. They said the universe operates according to rational principles, divine plans, natural laws. Schopenhauer said, no, there's no grand rational design. There's no benevolent God orchestrating everything according to a beautiful plan.
There's just hunger. A blind, irrational, bottomless hunger that exists in every atom of reality. He called this force the will. Not a will, like your personal will to choose pizza over salad. The will, capital T, capital W. The fundamental force of existence itself. It's not conscious, it doesn't think, it doesn't plan, it just wants, endlessly, insatiably. It's the engine that drives all of reality, and it never, ever stops. Now, in living things, in plants, animals, and humans, this will takes a specific form. Schopenhauer called it the will to life, and its directive is simple: survive, consume, reproduce, continue. That's it. That's the whole program. Every instinct you have, every biological urge, every natural desire, it all serves this one directive. When you're hungry, that's not you wanting food. That's the will to life ensuring its vessel, your body, stays operational. When you feel fear, that's not you being cautious. That's the will to life protecting its investment. When you feel sexual desire, well, we'll get to that, because that's where things get really dark. The point is, the will to life doesn't care about you as an individual. It doesn't care about your dreams, your goals, your potential, your happiness. You are not the protagonist of your own story. You're a vehicle, a temporary host for an ancient, impersonal force that's been using bodies like yours to perpetuate itself for millions of years. And here's what the will wants from you. It wants you to be normal. It wants you to fit in, to conform, to follow the path that billions of humans have followed before you. Get educated, just enough to be useful. Get a job, stable, predictable, safe. Find a partner, someone suitable, someone compatible. Settle down, buy a house, have children. Raise those children to do the exact same thing. Then die, having successfully passed the torch to the next generation. That's the plan. You are a link in the chain, nothing more. And here's the thing. For most people, this plan works perfectly. They never question it, they never resist it. They wake up at 25, 35, 45, and realize they've been following a script they never chose. But by then, they're so invested in the life they've built that turning back feels impossible. They have a mortgage, kids, responsibilities, a partner who expects them to keep being the person they've become. So they accept it. This is just life, they say. This is what being an adult means. The will wins without them ever knowing there was a fight. And how does the will communicate with you? Through that little voice in your head, the one that sounds like reason, like wisdom, like common sense. Don't take that risk. It's too dangerous. You're being unrealistic. You need to be practical. Everyone else is settling down. What makes you so special? You're not getting any younger. Maybe it's time to grow up. That voice isn't you. That's the will, trying to steer you back onto the path. The safe path, the predictable path, the path where you become exactly what you're supposed to be. A functioning, reproducing, obedient servant of the species. And when you resist, when you try to chase something bigger, something that belongs to you alone, the will doesn't give up. It just changes tactics. Because here's what Schopenhauer realized. Some people are different. Some people have more than what's needed for mere survival. Some people have that fire we talked about, that surplus of energy, creativity, intellect, something extra that makes them dangerous to the will's plan. And these people could actually escape. They could transcend the script. They could become something more than just another link in the chain. And the will knows this, so it has to neutralize them. It has to destroy their potential before they realize what they're capable of. But it can't do this through force. It can't just shut them down. It has to be subtle, seductive. It has to make the destruction feel like salvation. And that's where you come in. Because you, my friend, the man you were, the one with the fire, you were one of these people. You had potential, and the will saw you as a threat, so it deployed its most powerful weapon. But before we talk about that weapon, you need to understand exactly what you had, what you were, what you could have been. You need to understand what Schopenhauer called the genius.
Let's talk about what makes someone special. And I don't mean special in the shallow, everyone gets a trophy way. I mean actually different, genuinely exceptional. Because the truth is, most people aren't. And that's not an insult. It's just biology. Most people are perfectly calibrated for the will's plan. They have exactly the amount of energy, intelligence, and drive needed to survive, reproduce, and raise the next generation. No more, no less. They work their jobs, they come home tired, they relax, they seek comfort, they crave stability. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what they were built for. But then there are the others, the ones who have more. Schopenhauer had a specific term for these people. He called them the genius. Now, before your mind jumps to Einstein or Mozart or some superhuman intellect, stop. That's not what Schopenhauer meant. When he said genius, he wasn't talking about IQ scores or academic achievement. He was talking about something deeper, something more primal. A surplus of energy, of creative force, of intellectual horsepower. More than what's required for the basic biological script. Think about it like this. The average person generates just enough energy to get through the day. They work, they handle their responsibilities, and by evening, they're depleted. They need to collapse on the couch. They need to zone out. They need rest. But the genius? The genius finishes a full day of work and still has energy left over. That's the surplus.
And that surplus is dangerous because it creates a choice. Here's the choice. You can take that surplus energy and pour it back into the will's plan. Work harder at your job, climb the corporate ladder, make more money, build a bigger house, provide better for your family, become a better link in the chain. That's path one, the path of the will. Or you can take that surplus and use it for something else entirely. Something that has nothing to do with survival, nothing to do with reproduction, nothing to do with the species. Something that belongs to you alone. You can create, build, explore, discover. You can write the book that's been burning inside you. You can start the business that could change your industry. You can master the craft that makes you feel alive. You can become the artist, the entrepreneur, the philosopher, the builder, the person you were supposed to be. Not a better worker, not a better provider, something more.
And this is why what happened to you is so tragic. Because that potential, it's not renewable. You don't get infinite chances. You don't get to wake up at 45, 55, 65 and say, okay, now I'll pursue my real path. There's a window, and that window closes. Every day you spend on the wrong path, the surplus diminishes a little. Every year you pour your energy into the will's plan, the genius inside you gets quieter. Every compromise you make, every next week you tell yourself, every comfortable choice you choose, you're not just delaying your potential, you're destroying it. And the cruelest part? You'll never know how far you could have gone. You'll never know what you could have built, created, become. You'll just be left with this vague, haunting sense that you were meant for something more. And you'll spend the rest of your life wondering, what happened? Where did that fire go? Who was that man I used to be? Now, here's the question that should be screaming in your mind right now. If the will needs you to conform, reproduce, and follow the script, and if the genius inside you wants to break free and pursue something higher, how does the will stop you? How does it take someone with fire, with drive, with potential, and turn them into someone comfortable, safe, and ordinary? It can't use force. You'd resist. It can't use logic. You'd see through it. It has to use something more powerful than either. Something that feels like magic, like destiny, like the best thing that ever happened to you. Schopenhauer figured it out. And when you hear it, you're going to feel something in your chest because you'll realize it already happened. The trap already closed. Imagine you're the will for a moment. You're this ancient cosmic force. You've been running the same program for millions of years, and it works perfectly. Get the humans to pair up, get them to reproduce, keep the species going. Simple, efficient, unstoppable. But then you encounter him, the genius, the one with the surplus, the one who instead of coming home from work and thinking about starting a family, is thinking about starting a movement. The one who sees the comfortable, safe life as a prison, not a destination. The one who might actually choose his mission over your plan. This is a threat. Not a violent threat, but worse, a defection. If he escapes, if he actually pursues that higher path, he might inspire others. He might show people there's another way. He might delay reproduction by a decade or avoid it entirely, pouring all that energy into something that doesn't serve you at all. From the will's perspective, this cannot stand. So what do? You can't kill him. That defeats the purpose. You can't reason with him. He's too smart for that. You need something more elegant. You need to make him want to give up his potential. You need to make him choose the chain willingly. You need to convince him that abandoning his genius is not a tragedy, but the best decision he ever made. And so, the will deploys its most sophisticated, most powerful, most devastatingly effective weapon. A weapon so perfect, humans have been falling for it since the beginning of time, and they never see it coming. That weapon is falling in love. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, "Oh, great, here comes the love isn't real speech," stop. I'm not saying love isn't real. I'm saying it's not yours. Let me explain what Schopenhauer saw. When you meet someone and feel that spark, that inexplicable, overwhelming, intoxicating feeling that this person is special, you think that's about you, don't you? You think, "I'm attracted to her because we're compatible, because we share values, because she makes me happy." Schopenhauer said, "No, that spark has nothing to do with your happiness. It's a calculation." See, the will doesn't care if you're happy. It cares if you reproduce. And not just reproduce well. It needs to create the next generation, and ideally, that next generation should be strong, healthy, capable of continuing the chain. So when you encounter a potential mate, the will runs an unconscious biological algorithm. Her genetics plus your genetics equals optimal offspring. If the answer is yes, that's when you feel the spark. That overwhelming attraction you think is about love, it's actually the will doing genetic math. It's calculating whether her traits will complement your weaknesses, whether your combined DNA will produce viable, healthy children. And when the calculation is favorable, the will floods your brain with chemicals. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. It makes you feel like you found your soulmate, your other half, the one. It makes you feel like this is destiny. But it's not. It's biology. Cold, calculated, ruthless biology. Schopenhauer called this the genius of the species. Not the genius of the individual, your genius, the one with the potential. The genius of the species, the intelligence of the will itself. And it's smarter than you. Think about how love makes you act. When you're in love, suddenly your priorities shift. The mission that consumed you, it becomes negotiable. The ambition that defined you, it becomes selfish. The future you were building, it becomes lonely. Love makes you want to settle down. It makes you crave stability, security, comfort. It makes you want to build a home, not a legacy. It makes you want to spend your evenings with her, not with your work. And here's the genius of it. It doesn't feel like a sacrifice. It feels like evolution, like growth, like becoming a better man. I used to be so obsessed with work, but now I've found balance. Now I understand what really matters. You think you've transcended your old self, but you haven't. You've just been reprogrammed. The will has successfully overridden your individual genius with the genius of the species, and you thanked it for the privilege. This is why love is the will's perfect weapon, because you want it, you pursue it, you feel grateful when you find it. The trap doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like winning. And by the time you realize what you've traded, by the time you look around and wonder where your fire went, by the time you ask yourself, what happened to the man I was going to be? It's too late. The chain is already around your neck. And the worst part? You put it there yourself. Here we are. You've made it to the end, and now you have a choice to make. You can close this video, forget everything you heard, and go back to your life exactly as it was. Tell yourself it was just philosophy, just ideas, nothing to do with you. Or you can look in the mirror, really look, and ask yourself the questions Schopenhauer would want you to ask. Where is the fire? Where is the man you intended to be? And is your relationship the ally in the fight to reclaim him, or is it the reason he's gone? I can't answer that for you. Only you know the truth. But I'll tell you this. The fact that you watched this entire video means something. It means part of you, maybe the part that's been silent for years, is still alive. That fire, it's not dead, it's just buried. And the question is, what are you going to do about it? Because here's the truth Schopenhauer would want you to know. The will doesn't win because it's stronger than you. It wins because you let it. So stop letting it. The man you intended to be is still in there. Go find him. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more philosophy that challenges comfort.